Ladies and gentlemen, life is a journey of unpredictable twists and turns. In this dynamic, human relationships often carry profound, almost gravitational pull. And one question that arises repeatedly is, why do men return to you after a period of no contact? It seems perplexing at first, but when you look deeper, it reveals fundamental truths about human nature and the intricate dance of connection. Familiarity plays an essential role in human relationships, shaping how we perceive others and how we respond to the world around us. It is rooted in our biology and psychology, a mechanism developed over millennia to help us navigate the complexities of life. At its core, familiarity is about recognizing patterns and finding safety within the known. It allows us to orient ourselves in a chaotic environment, providing a sense of stability and security. This is why people, even when they've moved on from a relationship, often feel drawn back to what they once knew. When two people share a relationship, they also share experiences, habits, and an emotional language unique to their connection. These shared elements form a framework of comfort, a refuge where the mind can rest. This is especially true when the outside world becomes turbulent or unpredictable. The brain instinctively seeks what is familiar because it reduces the cognitive load required to process new stimuli. It's like returning to a childhood home. The structure may no longer serve your practical needs, but the memories etched into the walls provide a soothing sense of belonging. In relationships, this familiarity goes deeper. It isn't just about shared jokes or the way someone prepares your favorite meal. It's the way they understand your moods without explanation, the way their presence feels like a soft blanket on a cold day. Over time, these small moments of connection create a map of emotional safety. Even in the most conflicted relationships, there's an underlying thread of predictability. You know their quirks, their reactions, their flaws, and their strengths. This predictability becomes a form of comfort because it removes the uncertainty that accompanies new connections. For men, this dynamic is particularly significant. Societal expectations often condition men to suppress emotional expression and vulnerability, making it harder to seek or establish new forms of intimacy. As a result, they may cling to the emotional familiarity of a past relationship, even if it wasn't perfect. The effort required to start fresh, learning someone new, opening up again, and risking rejection is daunting. The pull of familiarity, the comfort of the known, often outweighs the allure of the unknown. Human memory is selective, even if the known is filtering out the bad and highlighting the good as time passes. This phenomenon, known as the nostalgia effect, amplifies the comfort associated with familiarity. Men may find themselves reflecting on the moments of warmth, laughter, and connection they experienced in a past relationship, while the pain or conflict fades into the background. This selective memory can create a powerful illusion that the past was better than it actually was, intensifying the desire to return. Familiarity is not just emotional, but also physiological. The routines and rhythms of a relationship become ingrained in the body. The way someone greets you in the morning, the sound of their laughter, or even the scent of their favorite perfume, all these sensory triggers create a network of associations in the brain. When these triggers are removed, it creates a void. Over time, this absence can feel like a gnawing emptiness, prompting an urge to reconnect. It's not just about missing the person, but missing the physical and emotional routines that became part of your daily life. The comfort of familiarity often acts as a buffer against loneliness. Humans are social creatures wired for connection and belonging. When a relationship ends, it leaves a vacuum that isn't easily filled. The absence of companionship can feel like standing in a silent room after years of noise and laughter. This silence can be deafening, pushing people to seek out the familiar as a way to fill the void. For men, who may struggle to form deep emotional bonds outside of romantic relationships, this loneliness can be particularly acute. Another layer of familiarity lies in the sense of identity it provides. Relationships shape how we see ourselves. They mirror back aspects of our personality, values, and aspirations. Losing a relationship can feel like losing a piece of oneself. Returning to a familiar connection can be an attempt to reclaim that lost part, to find grounding in a version of oneself that felt stable and understood. This gravitational pull toward the familiar also interacts with fear, the fear of making a wrong choice, of venturing into the unknown. or of never finding someone who understands them are deeply entwined with how familiarity, by contrast, feels safe because it doesn't these forces shape not just why people stay in relationships, but also why they return after a period of separation. And the rewards, however small, when life presents its inevitable challenges, this sense of safety becomes especially appealing in moments of vulnerability, back to what once felt like home. When the future feels uncertain or overwhelming, emotional attachments form the core of human connections, bonding individuals in profound and often unexplainable ways. These attachments arise not only from shared experiences, but also from the emotional energy invested in the relationship. When these connections are severed, they rarely dissolve completely. Instead, they linger, unresolved, like threads left dangling in the psyche, waiting for tension or closure. This is particularly true for men who might not fully process or articulate the depth of their emotional ties, leaving them vulnerable to the pull of unresolved feelings. Unresolved emotional attachments often persist because they are built on deeply rooted psychological needs. Humans have an innate desire for connection, validation, and understanding, and relationships serve as a vessel for fulfilling these needs. And when a relationship ends, especially without proper resolution, those needs remain unmet, leaving a sense of incompleteness. It's not uncommon for individuals to replay conversations, relive arguments, or reimagine scenarios in an attempt to make sense of what happened. These mental loops reinforce the emotional connection even in the absence of physical contact. The brain, in its quest for coherence, struggles to let go of attachments that were significant. Emotional bonds are not merely mental constructs, they are encoded in the brain's neural pathways. Over time, repeated interactions with a person strengthen these pathways, making them difficult to sever. When the relationship ends, these neural connections don't simply disappear. Instead, they remain active, often triggered by reminders such as a familiar song, a place you visited together, or even a random thought. These triggers rekindle the emotional attachment, pulling the individual back into the orbit of the unresolved. For men, this phenomenon can be particularly pronounced due to societal norms around emotional expression. Many men are conditioned to suppress their emotions, prioritizing stoicism and control over vulnerability. This cultural framework can make it difficult for men to confront and process their feelings when a relationship ends. Instead of addressing the pain and confusion, they may compartmentalize it, pushing it aside in the hopes that it will fade. However, emotions buried in this way often resurface later, manifesting as an unresolved attachment that draws them back to the person they left behind. Another factor contributing to unresolved emotional attachments is the tendency to idealize the past. When relationships end, it's common for individuals to focus on the positive aspects, downplaying or even forgetting the negative ones. This selective memory creates a skewed perception of the relationship, amplifying its significance and deepening the attachment. Men who might struggle to find similar emotional intimacy elsewhere may find themselves yearning for the connection they once had, regardless of its flaws. This longing can be powerful, driving them to seek reconciliation as a way of reclaiming what they perceive as lost. Unresolved attachments are also fueled by the emotional investment that relationships require. When you invest time, energy, and vulnerability into another person, it creates a sense of ownership and identity tied to the relationship. Letting go of that investment can feel like abandoning a part of yourself, a loss that is difficult to accept. This resistance to loss keeps the attachment alive as the individual clings to the hope of rekindling the connection or finding meaning in its continuation. Attachment theory provides additional insight into why unresolved emotional ties persist. People with anxious attachment styles, for example, may find further complicated by the attachments is also closure. Concept of emotional closure is not just about understanding even after a relationship, even those who avoid finding sense of finality may outwardly appear words, actions, are not immune to when closure is absent. The mind remains how you perceive avoidance is often cycling through the what ifs and masking a deeper lack of resolution feedback the attachment alive as where the emotional energy of the past relationship interferes with the ability to fully move forward. Men who may not have the unresolved emotion to navigate these emotional complexities, tethering the individual to a moment in time that they cannot escape. Unresolved emotional attachments are not just a reflection of the past, but also a response to the present. In moments of loneliness, stress, or uncertainty, the mind often gravitates toward the comfort of familiar connections, even if they were imperfect. This emotional pull is not necessarily rational. It's a reflection of the deep and often unconscious ways in which relationships shape our sense of self and our understanding of the world. Growth and reflection are integral to human development, shaping how individuals process their experiences, learn from them, and ultimately evolve. When it comes to relationships, especially those that have ended, the time spent apart often becomes a crucible for personal growth and self-awareness. This period is marked by introspection, a reassessment of past actions, and a reevaluation of values and priorities. For men, in particular, this reflective process can uncover insights that might not have been evident in the midst of the relationship, providing a clearer understanding of its significance and their role within it. The act of reflection begins almost as soon as the separation occurs. The absence of a partner creates a void, and in that silence, thoughts and emotions emerge more vividly. The mind revisits conversations, decisions, and pivotal moments, scrutinizing them from different angles. What might have been dismissed or overlooked during the relationship is now magnified, offering opportunities for insight. This process can be both painful and illuminating, as it forces individuals to confront their own flaws, misunderstandings, and missed opportunities for connection. Growth during this period often stems from the discomfort of this self-examination. Being alone with one's thoughts compels individuals to face truths they may have avoided while in the relationship. For men, who might be conditioned to externalize their focus and avoid vulnerability, this process can be particularly challenging. Yet it is through this discomfort that meaningful growth occurs. The realization of mistakes or areas for improvement becomes a catalyst for change, driving individuals to become better versions of themselves. Reflection also involves an exploration of deeper questions about identity and purpose. Relationships are not just about companionship, they also act as mirrors, reflecting back aspects of one's personality, strengths, and weaknesses. When a relationship ends, that mirror is temporarily removed, prompting individuals to look inward for answers. This introspection often leads to a deeper understanding of who they are outside the context of the partnership. It's a process of disentangling oneself from the relationship's narrative and rediscovering an independent sense of self. Time apart provides the mental and emotional space necessary for this kind of exploration. In the midst of a relationship, daily routines and emotional dynamics can overshadow the ability to step back and evaluate its broader context. The absence of contact allows individuals to gain perspective, viewing the relationship not just as a series of events, but as a chapter in their personal journey. This shift in perspective can reveal patterns of behavior, communication, or emotional responses that were previously invisible. Growth and reflection are also intertwined with the concept of resilience. The end of a relationship, especially one that was deeply meaningful, can feel like a profound loss. Navigating this loss requires emotional resilience, the ability to endure discomfort and emerge stronger on the other side. For men who may not always have the societal support or tools to process emotions openly, this journey can be particularly transformative. It challenges them to develop new coping mechanisms, to find strength in vulnerability, and to cultivate a deeper emotional intelligence. Reflection is not just about looking backward, it's also about envisioning the future. As individuals process the lessons of the past, they begin to form new goals and aspirations both for themselves and for their relationships. They may recognize the qualities they value most in a partner, the boundaries they need to establish, or the ways they wish to show up differently in their next connection. This forward-looking aspect of reflection is what transforms growth into actionable change, setting the stage for healthier and more fulfilling relationships. Another important dimension of growth during this period is the ability to empathize. As individuals reflect on their actions and the dynamics of the relationship, they often gain a greater understanding of their partner's perspective. This newfound empathy can deepen their emotional maturity, helping them recognize the complexities of human connection and the importance of mutual respect and understanding. For men, this shift can be particularly impactful, as it encourages a more nuanced approach to communication and emotional expression. Growth through reflection also extends beyond the personal and relational spheres. influencing other areas of life. The process of reassessing one's values and priorities often leads to changes in career, friendships, and lifestyle choices. It's not uncommon for individuals to pursue new hobbies, deepen their spiritual practices, or invest in self-improvement initiatives as a way of channeling their growth. This ripple effect demonstrates how the lessons learned from a relationship can shape a person's overall trajectory, creating a more aligned and purposeful life. Reflection often involves recognizing the impact of time. In the heat of a relationship, emotions and reactions can cloud judgment, making it difficult to see the bigger picture. Time apart acts as a buffer, allowing emotions to settle and memories to be revisited with greater objectivity. This temporal distance enables individuals to see not just what went wrong, but also what went right, and to appreciate the relationship for the role it played in their personal evolution. Growth and reflection are deeply intertwined with the human capacity for change. They remind individuals that even in the face of loss, there is an opportunity for transformation, for becoming more self-aware, and for creating a stronger foundation for future connections. The process of reflecting on a relationship, especially one that was significant, is not just about understanding the past, but also about laying the groundwork for a more intentional and fulfilling future. Regret and longing are two deeply intertwined emotions that emerge powerfully in the aftermath of a significant relationship. They are rooted in the mind's natural tendency to dwell on what has been lost, replaying moments and decisions in an attempt to make sense of the separation. These emotions can persist long after a breakup, fueled by unresolved feelings, nostalgia, and an inherent desire to recapture something that once brought meaning and connection. For men who may process emotions differently or less openly than women, these feelings often manifest as an internal pull toward the past, creating a strong desire to reconnect. Regret typically arises from the recognition of missed opportunities, mistakes, or actions that might have contributed to the relationship's decline. It is a cognitive and emotional response to the realization that something valuable was lost due to choices that, in hindsight, appear misguided. This feeling often grows stronger as time passes, particularly when the individual gains a clearer perspective on the relationship. In the moment, certain behaviors or decisions may have seemed justified or insignificant, but distance and reflection can bring these actions into sharper focus, highlighting their impact on the relationship's trajectory. Longing, on the other hand, is a more visceral and emotional response to the absence of a loved one. It is driven by a deep yearning for connection, intimacy, and familiarity, and it often intensifies as memories of the relationship resurface. Longing is not just about wanting the person back, it's also about desiring the feelings and experiences they brought into one's life. This emotion can be triggered by seemingly mundane events, a favorite song, a familiar scent, or a shared memory that reignite the emotional bond, even if the relationship is ended. Together, regret and longing create a powerful emotional cocktail that can be difficult to navigate. Regret fuels the sense of loss, while longing amplifies the desire to bridge the gap created by the separation. For men, these emotions can be particularly complex due to societal expectations around emotional expression. Men may struggle to articulate or even fully acknowledge these feelings, leading them to bottle up their emotions or channel them into other areas of life. However, this suppression often intensifies the emotional undercurrents, making the pull of regret and longing even stronger over time. The process of regret often involves an internal dialogue, a kind of mental replaying of past events in search of understanding or resolution. This cognitive loop can become all-consuming as the mind fixates on what could have been. Men may find themselves revisiting arguments, wondering if they could have communicated differently or made better choices. This constant replay creates an emotional tension that keeps the connection alive in their minds, even if the relationship is no longer active. Longing, by contrast, is less analytical and more emotional. It is the ache of missing someone, a feeling that can be both comforting and painful. Longing often emerges in quiet moments when the distractions of daily life fade and the mind drifts toward the past. It is during these moments that men might find themselves yearning for the presence of their former partner, not just as a person, but as a source of stability, understanding, and emotional fulfillment. This yearning is not easily dismissed as it taps into the human need for connection and belonging. Regret and longing are also amplified by the selective nature of memory. The brain tends to romanticize the past, emphasizing the positive aspects of a relationship while downplaying the negative ones. This selective recall can create a distorted view of the relationship, making it appear more idyllic than it was in reality. For men, who might already struggle to access the full spectrum of their emotions, this idealization can further intensify their desire to reconnect, as they focus on the moments of joy and connection that now feel out of reach. Another layer to these emotions is the fear of permanence. The finality of a breakup can be difficult to accept, particularly when regret sets in. Men may worry that they have lost something irreplaceable, a fear that deepens their longing and drives them to consider reconciliation. This fear is not just about losing the relationship, but also about losing the version of themselves that existed within it, a version that felt understood, valued, or even challenged in meaningful ways. Longing is often intertwined with the concept of identity. Relationships shape who we are, influencing our habits, perspectives, and sense of self. When a relationship ends, it can leave a void that feels disorienting, prompting a search for something familiar to fill the gap. For men, this might mean longing not only for the partner, but also for the stability, purpose, or sense of direction that the relationship provided. This emotional pull can make it difficult to move forward, as the past feels like a safer, more comfortable place to dwell. Regret, too, has a forward-looking dimension. It is not just about mourning what was lost, but also about grappling with the possibilities that were left unrealized. Men may find themselves wondering about the life they could have had if the relationship had continued, creating a sense of unfinished business that keeps the emotional connection alive. This forward-looking regret often blends with longing, as the desire to recapture or complete what was left undone becomes a powerful motivator for revisiting the past. Regret and longing, though often painful, are a testament to the depth of emotional investment in a relationship. They highlight the significance of the bond and the difficulty of letting go, reflecting the complex interplay of memory, emotion, and identity that defines human connection. These emotions are not easily resolved, as they tap into fundamental aspects of what it means to care deeply for another person and to confront the reality of loss. Searching for stability is a natural response to the turbulence and uncertainty that often accompany a breakup. Stability is a core psychological need, providing individuals with a sense of security, control, and predictability in their lives. When a relationship ends, it disrupts the emotional and practical routines that once offered a stable foundation. This disruption can leave individuals feeling untethered, prompting them to seek out ways to regain equilibrium. For men, who may have relied on their relationships for emotional grounding more than they openly acknowledge, this search for stability often involves revisiting the connection they had with their former partner. The need for stability is not simply about avoiding chaos. It is a deep-seated human desire to feel safe and anchored in a world that can often seem overwhelming. Relationships serve as one of the most significant sources of this stability, offering emotional support, companionship, and a shared sense of purpose. When a breakup occurs, it removes this anchor, leaving a void that can feel profoundly unsettling. The familiar routines, shared responsibilities, and daily interactions that once brought a sense of order are suddenly absent, creating a sense of loss that extends beyond the emotional realm. For men, the search for stability can be particularly pronounced because societal norms often discourage them from seeking emotional support outside of romantic relationships. Many men are socialized to prioritize independence and self-reliance, making it less likely for them to cultivate deep emotional connections with friends or family. As a result, their romantic partner often becomes their primary source of emotional stability. When that connection is severed, the absence of alternative support systems can intensify their feelings of instability, pushing them to revisit the relationship as a way to regain balance. Stability is also tied to routine, and relationships naturally create shared rhythms and patterns that become integral to daily life. These routines provide structure and predictability, helping individuals navigate the demands of life with greater ease. When a breakup disrupts these routines, it can feel like the ground has shifted beneath one's feet. For men who may have grown accustomed to certain rituals or habits within the relationship, whether it's the morning coffee shared with a partner or the comfort of knowing someone is waiting at home, this absence can create a sense of disorientation that fuels the desire to return. Another aspect of the search for stability lies in the emotional equilibrium that relationships provide. Even in challenging partnerships, there is often a sense of emotional grounding that comes from knowing someone deeply and being known in return. This emotional familiarity acts as a stabilizing force, offering reassurance during times of stress or uncertainty. When this connection is lost, it can leave individuals feeling emotionally adrift, struggling to find a new source of comfort and reassurance. For men, who may not always have the tools or experience to process these emotions, the urge to reconnect with their former partner becomes a way to restore that lost equilibrium. The longing for stability is further complicated by the human brain's aversion to uncertainty. Breakups introduce a host of unknowns, questions about the future, doubts about one's decisions, and fears about the possibility of finding another meaningful connection. This uncertainty can be deeply unsettling, leading individuals to seek out the familiar as a way to regain a sense of control. For men, this might mean focusing on the relationship they once had, as it represents a known quantity in a sea of unknowns. Even if the relationship wasn't perfect, its familiarity offers a semblance of stability that feels safer than venturing into the unknown. Stability is also linked to identity, and relationships play a crucial role in shaping how individuals see themselves. Partners often serve as mirrors, reflecting back a sense of who we are and who we aspire to be. When a relationship ends, it can create a sense of identity loss, as the roles and dynamics that once defined a significant part of one's life are no longer present. For men who might tie their sense of worth or purpose to their role within the relationship, this loss can be particularly destabilizing. Returning to the relationship, or at least contemplating its restoration, becomes a way of reclaiming that lost sense of self. The search for stability also intersects with the human desire for closure. Breakups often leave questions unanswered and emotions unresolved, creating a sense of unfinished business that can be hard to ignore. Without closure, the mind remains preoccupied with the past, replaying scenarios and imagining alternate outcomes. This mental and emotional loop can create a powerful pull toward the relationship, as reconnecting feels like a way to bring resolution and restore a sense of order. For men who may struggle to process these feelings openly, the search for closure becomes entwined with the need for stability, making it even harder to let go. Stability is not just about returning to what was familiar, it is also about finding a sense of balance in the midst of emotional upheaval. Relationships provide a framework for navigating life's challenges, offering a sense of partnership and shared responsibility. When that framework is removed, individuals are left to navigate these challenges on their own, which can feel daunting and overwhelming. For men, who may be less likely to seek external help or share their struggles with others, this loss of partnership can amplify their sense of instability, leading them to seek solace in the connection they once had. The search for stability in the aftermath of a breakup is a complex and deeply human process. It reflects the universal need for connection, reassurance, and a sense of order in an unpredictable world. Relationships fulfill these needs in ways that are difficult to replicate, and their absence leaves a void that many find challenging to fill. For men, this search often becomes a powerful force, driving them to reflect on the past and consider whether returning to the relationship might restore the stability they crave. In conclusion, men often return after no contact because of a complex interplay of emotions and psychological needs. Whether it's the pull of unresolved attachments, the longing for familiarity and stability, or the recognition of personal growth and missed opportunities, these factors create a powerful motivation to reconnect. Relationships leave lasting imprints on identity and emotional well-being, making it difficult to let go completely. The absence of a partner often brings clarity, prompting reflection and a yearning to restore what once brought meaning. Ultimately, this return is not just about the past, but also about seeking resolution, connection, and a renewed sense of self.